Hey guys, continuing on to part 3 of Kelly Frank Allen's book, The Puzzle. We're starting off with 2 quotes. The first one is by Mahatma Gandhi. Quote, truth stands, even if there be no public support. It is self-sustained. Boom. That's all I get to say. And then there's Thomas Jefferson. Quote, he who knows nothing is closer to the truth than he whose mind is filled with falsehoods and errors. And now we're moving on to truth. As I continued watching the puzzle solvers hard at work, I noticed a woman approaching the area. She wore a name tag, the kind you peel and stick to your lapel after writing your name with a magic marker. The name on her lapel was written in all caps, and it said, Truth. As Truth approached each individual, you could sense her concern and excitement for each person. She approached one young woman who had completed a top left portion of the puzzle, revealing blue skies and wispy white clouds, and she asked this person if she had been able to determine the picture that the puzzle represented. With complete confidence and enthusiasm, the young woman responded by telling Truth that she had been able to determine that the picture this puzzle represents is the beauty of the clear open skies, reflecting rays of sunshine. To me, she said, this also represents the light that shines into our lives from Spirit. Truth responded, yes, you are correct, and this is what the puzzle represents to you. You are doing an excellent job. Please continue. I then watched as Truth moved down the table to ask the same questions of an elderly man who appeared to have made great progress on his puzzle. After being asked what the puzzle represents, the man took a moment to look at a completed portion of his puzzle, revealing tumultuous and raging river with white caps. The river appeared to be buffering a dam with stress fractures and cracks. It appeared to be close to giving way. After studying this completed portion of his puzzle, the man responded to Truth, saying, I see this turbulent river buffering the dam, and I know what this puzzle represents. Truth asked the man to continue. The river represents the trials in our lives, and the dam represents me as an individual, beaten and battered by the trials. I am doing everything I can to withstand the beating, but I must call out to God to help me, for I cannot stand alone. This puzzle represents my need of God. Truth responded, well, yes, you are correct. And this is what the puzzle represents to you. You are doing an excellent job. Please continue. As Truth continued to move from person to person, it became apparent to me that although some of the puzzles at the table I viewed shared completed portions in common, the individuals were each convinced that they had gained the understanding of what their individual puzzle represented, and they had had this confirmed by Truth. When I explained this observation to the teacher, he smiled and said to me, you are beginning to understand what you are beginning to understand, but you have much observing to do and much more understanding to gain. I could now feel the excitement welling up within me as if it for the first time. After a lifetime of being locked in a room without a view of the outside, I had a curtain drawn to expose a window and provide me with a glimpse to an outside world I didn't even know existed. I asked the teacher to allow me to continue observing the puzzle-solving people at the tables, and he gave me permission to do so. And where are we at? Number 5, we're going to continue on to Brotherhood. But there's the quotes before Brotherhood, because you just listened to truth. Now you're going to hear the chapter entitled Brotherhood. This first quote is from Mark Twain. "The universal brotherhood of man is our most precious possession, what there is of it." Boom. And then the other quote is from Tyrone Edwards. Quote, "Whosoever in prayer can say, quote unquote, our Father, acknowledges and should feel the brotherhood of the whole race of mankind." And here we go. Brotherhood. "As I continued to watch, I saw a man approaching the table. This man also wore a name tag that read, Brotherhood. As the man approached each individual, he asked them how their puzzle solving was going. He also made an announcement to the table that seemed to astonish the puzzle solvers as much as it did me. Brotherhood, proclaiming to everyone at the table that they had made incredible progress on their puzzles, and asked why they chose not to communicate with one another. The individuals at the table responded, explaining that they were all focused in their own puzzle and didn't understand the need to discuss their puzzle with someone working on a puzzle different than theirs. Brotherhood smiled and said, "You may find that helping your brothers and sisters with their puzzle may give you a needed break from your own. It may also be that your brother or sister may in turn need to take a break from their puzzle and help you with yours." Agreeing to do this, the puzzle solvers began to communicate with one another and work together. As I watched the individuals begin to communicate, I was fascinated to see them study one another's puzzles. Some seemed perplexed to find similarities between the individual puzzles. Some attempted to force their own interpretation of their neighbor's puzzle upon them based on what they had completed in their own. Some even tried to force pieces of the puzzle together to suit their own interpretations. Eventually, a few of the puzzle solvers resolved to just focus on helping their neighbor solve their puzzle. As I continued to watch, it was amazing to see things unfold. At times, I could watch the realization on the face of an individual take place as he or she became aware that a portion of a neighbor's puzzle contained an area that was the same as was his or her own. He or she would temporarily forget about the perceived differences of the overall puzzle and help their neighbor make progress. As this was taking place, the teacher asked me another question. He said, "Now, who is making better progress and solving her puzzle the fastest?" I responded with, "Well, it appears that the progress has moved from that of an individual one to a united effort. Individuals being helped to make progress are later able to return the favor to the person helping him or her. In doing so, it appears that a person who has made a greater progress is actually able to help another bypass his or her own progress, which enables him or her to, in turn, help them yet again." The teacher smiled and said, "This is a great testament to truth and brotherhood. And they both would be proud to hear you say this." As I watched the puzzle solvers move through their respective puzzles and how each of them dealt with his or her own and their neighbor's puzzles, I began to see more clearly the parallels this seemingly simple experience related to us as humans in our potential and ability to work together and help one another. The table of puzzle solvers was not without conflict and the need for meditation. The dynamics of the setting was only beginning to get interesting. As puzzle solvers at large table involved in their progress, some began to see the similarities in their puzzles as a sign that they had reached a clear understanding and decided to unite in their victory. As Truth approached the table again and found these individuals now grouped together and enjoying the shared commonalities of their puzzles, she asked them why they had ceased to continue working on their puzzles. They responded, "Well, you see, Truth, we have come to understand the meaning of the puzzle and all that it represents. We have looked upon one another's puzzles, and we are able to clearly see the same picture. There is no need for us to continue." Truth then asked the group, "This is your truth, and you have clearly seen a common portion of the puzzle completed by each of you. You have also realized that your puzzles are the same. Why do you not wish to continue to see a clear picture is yet to be revealed? You can also look upon your other brothers and sisters' puzzles." Well, the group replied, "They are trying to change our views of what we already know to be true. Why would we want to spend our time in vain when we already clearly see what the puzzle represents and know its meaning? For the first time, I saw disappointment on the face of Truth as she lowered her head and walked away from the group. I asked the teacher, "Why doesn't Truth insist that these individuals continue with their puzzles? If they stop now, the others will continue and pass them. The others will also eventually complete their puzzles, whereas this group will not." Now, for the first time, I also saw a look of disappointment on the face of my teacher. He said to me, "You still don't understand. The puzzle solving is not a race or a competition. You have much left to learn." At this point, feeling a bit frustrated, I returned to watching the progress and the lack thereof by some of the table of puzzlers. As the puzzle solving continued for some and not for others, I watched as fractions began to develop. Other groups began to form, for they had recognized portions of the puzzle they shared in common, and each group declared themselves to hold the true representation of the puzzle. People began to argue with one another over the understanding of what the puzzle represented. Brotherhood came back by the table and tried to reason with the arguing groups and individuals, but they insisted that they had found brotherhood within their respective groups based on the commonalities they had shared in the puzzle. When Truth joined Brotherhood in an effort to encourage the groups to work together, these groups requested separate tables to allow them to continue to enjoy their truth without disruption. In spite of Truth's and Brotherhood's efforts to inspire the individuals to work together, they divided into separate groups. Because Truth is understanding and long-suffering, she permitted the separation to take place. Several tables were established within the room. There were tables representing the sky puzzle, groups representing the river puzzle, groups representing the flower puzzle, groups representing the cottage puzzle, and on until the room was divided into a plethora of puzzle representations, each believing themselves to embody real truth and brotherhood. Of course, Truth and Brotherhood remained close at hand, waiting for the opportunity to empower each and all of the individuals to do just that. As the group settled into their complacency, individuals of each group began to feel a yearning for more. As they expressed their feelings of frustration or a desire to see what the other portion of the puzzle could reveal if put together, Truth and Brotherhood would encourage these individuals to enjoy the liberty of visiting the other groups and exploring their insights and understandings. It wouldn't take long for individuals to respond to this encouragement and for exploration to take place. As time went on, certain individuals among various groups decided that they would explore the other groups to investigate what they determined the puzzle to represent and why. They also were interested in viewing the portions of the puzzles others had completed. Some set out with a mission to convert the others to their group. Some were determined to find differences so that they could be convinced that the other groups were wrong. And still, some set out with open minds and sincere interest in understanding the other group's perspectives. As these scouts and seekers diligently pursued their individual objectives, the dynamics of the room began to once again evolve and change. Okay, and that was the end of Brotherhood. And tomorrow we shall do the evolution of the experts. I just love that title, the evolution of the experts. All right, well, good night for now. Hasta mañana, and much love from me and also from the incredible author and dear friend, Kelly F. Allen. Buenas noches. Namaste.